जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय श्री श्री राधा गोपी जन वल्लभ की जय, निताय पतित पावन गौर हरि की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ज्ञानातिमिरन्तस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। We will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, 30th chapter, verse number 9. गृहेषु कुलधर्मेषु दुःखतान्त्रेष्व अतन्विता कुवान् दुःख प्रतीकारम् सुखवान् मन्यते गृही गृहणेषु कुलधर्मेषु दुःखतान्त्रेष्व अतन्त्रिता कुर्वान् दुःख प्रतीकारम् सुखवान् मन्यते गृही गृहेषु कुलधर्मेषु दुःखतान्त्रेष्व अतन्त्रिता कुर्वान् दुःख प्रतीकारम् सुखवान् मन्यते गृही गृहेषु कूटधर्मेषु दुःखतान्त्रेष्व अतन्त्रिता कुर्वान् दुःख प्रतीकारम् सुखवान् मन्यते गृही गृहेषु in family life, kuta dharmeshu involving the practice of falsehood, dukha tantreshu spreading miseries, atandrita attentive, kurvan doing, dukha pratikaram counteraction of miseries, sukhavat as happiness, manyate things, grihi the household. Verbal and translation by His Divine Grace. The attached householder remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics, always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification. He acts just to counteract the reaction of all his miseries. And if he can successfully counteract such miseries, he thinks that he is happy. In Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead himself certifies the material world as an impermanent place that is full of miseries. There is no question of happiness in this material world, either individually or in terms of family, society, or country. If something is going on in the name of happiness, that is also illusion. Here in this material world, happiness means successful counteraction to the effects of distress. The material world is so made that unless one becomes a clever diplomat, his life will be a failure. Not to speak of human society, even the society of lower animals, the birds and bees, cleverly manages its bodily demands of eating, sleeping, and mating. Human society competes nationally or individually, and in the attempt to be successful, the entire human society becomes full of diplomacy. We should always remember that in spite of all diplomacy and all the intelligence in the struggle for our existence, everything will end in a second by the supreme will. Therefore, all our attempts to become happy in this material world are simply a delusion offered by Maya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So this is a very interesting and very practical verse also. When I was reading this, it almost seemed like this is a story of my life as a struggling grihastha. All the points mentioned here, very, very practical. And the translation, it can be studied in three parts here. The first part says the attached householder remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics. So first part talks about diplomacy and politics. Now, what is diplomacy? Diplomacy means putting forth our desires and aspirations in a very cunning way, where the person you are dealing with doesn't understand or see it. That is diplomacy, right? Lacking of genuinity, that is diplomacy. So in this translation, Prabhupada is saying that the attached householder remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy. Now, there's a very nice story depicting how diplomacy works in the material world. So there was this king of the Marwar dynasty, which has the capital of Ujjain. His name was Bhartrhari, and he was the older brother of the famous king Vikramaditya. We studied in our history classes. So Bhartrhari, he had two wives, and he was more attached to one than the other. One was his favorite, so he would spend a lot of time with her. Now, this wife was not very genuine. She was diplomatic, and under her influence, she made him throw his younger brother Vikramaditya out of the city. Very close to the palace of the king stayed a Brahmana, old Brahmana couple. But they were very pious, very religious. They would do a lot of tapasya, lot of austerity. So one time, Devdas gave this old Brahmana couple an apple. This apple was from a desire fulfilling tree, and it promised eternal happiness and long life. So this old Brahmana, he was so old, he didn't even have any teeth and very weak. So he tried to, he was like, okay, I can eat this apple. So the wife chastised him. He's like, what will you do by eating this apple? What is the Let us go and present this apple to our king, Bhartrhari. So the couple went and gave that apple to the king. Now the king, mad as he was in love with his favorite wife, he gave that apple to his wife. Now the wife, in the pretext of, okay, I'll eat it later, she took it, but she didn't eat it in front of him. Now this wife genuinely loved a horse keeper. So she thought this apple better goes to him. He's better deserving because I love him. So she gave this apple to the horse keeper. Now the horse keeper was attached to a prostitute. So he thought I should give this apple to the prostitute. So he went and gave it to her. Now this lady, she was a little pious. So she thought this apple should go to someone who's more deserving. And she thought, who better than our king, who is taking care of all of us, our welfare. So she went and presented this apple to the king again. When the king received this apple back from this lady, it came to him, the realization came to him that his wife doesn't love him genuinely. And all of his love, at that very moment, it turned into detachment. So all of his love turned into detachment. And this king was so much in love with his wife that he would write poems in love for her. And now he was so detached, having been so hurt and feeling so lost. He wrote 100 verses on Vairagya. It's very famous, Vairagya Shika. So all this to show how diplomacy works in the material world. And Srimad Bhagavatam, time and again, shows the shallowness of this material world also. The very intelligent, they hear and understand and fix their path. The little less intelligent, they hear, then they experience, then they fix their path. And then the even more lesser intelligent, they hear, they experience, fall down, get hurt again, but still they continue in their struggle through this diplomacy and politics. So this is basically how diplomacy works in the material world, which Prabhupada is trying to tell us in this first statement. Then the second statement says, always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification. He acts just to counteract the reactions of all his miseries. So the second part is saying the attached householder, he is just spreading miseries and is controlled by acts of sense gratification. And his struggle is only to counteract the reactions of all his miseries. So again, this is like how Prahlad Maharaj says, chewing the chew, right? Like, we may take a bubble gum, we chew it for a minute, we get some taste, and after that it's gone. It's like putting it out and then putting it back again and trying to chew it more and more and more, trying to get more rasa. That is how sense gratification and struggle in the material world works with. Shina Sukha Mahar Dukha. For little bit momentary happiness, we have to go through so much of miseries. Like the proportion is unparalleled. Like Srila Prabhupada cites this example very often of a camel eating cactus plant. So when the camel bites and chews the cactus plant, the cactus has thorns all over it. And while the camel is chewing the cactus plant, the thorns, they are piercing its palate, it's the inside of its mouth, and the camel is profusely bleeding. Now that blood gives the ingredients in its mouth, a salty taste, and that the camel enjoys. And so the camel thinks it is coming from the cactus, and it eats more and more of it, not realizing that it is losing its blood in the process. So that is what, when we engage in material sense gratification, what is lost is time and spiritual vitality. And that is what Bhagavatam is trying to tell here. Actually, there's a very, very nice story the way Prabhupada explains how this material sense gratification works. I was hearing, looking at a video of Srila Prabhupada memories by all of his disciples. There is one disciple by the name Atma Tattva Prabhu, And he was sharing his anecdotes with interactions with Srila Prabhupada. And he said, so he was supposed to get initiated, and 2 weeks before his initiation, he developed very bad infection in the mouth. So he couldn't brush. And then after 2 weeks, his initiation day came, his time came, he went to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked him, "Char niyam kya hai? What are the four regulative principles?" So he started speaking, and Prabhupada stopped him and he asked him, "आप क्या अपना दांत ठीक से घसते नहीं हैं? Don't you brush properly?" So Prabhu said, "Sorry, Prabhupada, I have some infection. That's why." So Prabhupada said, "Oh, infection." And then Prabhupada took his beads and gave him chant 16 rounds. It was like Prabhupada diagnosed, okay, you have an infection, you chant 16 rounds, that's the solution to your problem. And then in same day evening, Prabhu received service to thank Srila Prabhupada while he was going to give his class. So first he started fanning very vigorously. So Srila Prabhupada was saying, Jai Radha Madhav, we looked at him. So he realized maybe I'm too fast. Then he started fanning so slow that flies started coming to sit on Prabhupada's face. Again, Prabhupada looked at him. At this point, he was so nervous he didn't know what to do. Then, as soon as Srila Prabhupada finished Jai Radha Madhav, Prabhupada remembered his interaction with Atma Prabhu that happened in the morning. And Prabhupada looked at him and said, this material world is like an infection. Sense gratification is like an infection. And Prabhupada pulled his sleeves and he scratched. Said, you want to scratch, then you feel good. And then again he pulled his sleeves and he scratched. He said, again you want to scratch, you feel a little bit of satisfaction. And then again you want to scratch, but you cannot. Why? Because there is blood. That Prabhupada, he remembered his interaction from the morning and how Prabhupada very crisply summarizes. And that is our situation, right? The itch is wanting to engage in material sense gratification, knowing that, we will only suffer and bleed because of it, but still we cannot stop. So that is what, the second statement of this verse is trying to tell us. Always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification, he acts just to counteract the reactions of all these miseries. There is misery, very little sukh, lot of dukh, but still continuing and just trying to counteract the miseries. And then last line says, and if he can successfully counteract such miseries, he thinks he is happy. So the struggle is just to counteract the misery. There's no real happiness there. Again, Atma Prabhu was describing very nice pastime of Prabhupada. A big businessman came to meet Prabhupada, and he introduced himself and he started telling Prabhupada how big of a businessman he is. He started giving the list, okay, I have these many factories here and here and here. But then he said at the end, but I cannot sleep, Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said, that is why you cannot sleep. You give everything to me, then you will be able to sleep. That is our Prabhupada, right? Direct and very straightforward. So that person was taken aback. He had come to share his problem. He thought Swamiji would give him some blessings or something. He was not expecting this answer in return. So Gopal Krishna Maharaj was, I think, Prabhupada's secretary at that time. So Prabhupada told him, write down his address. We will go see him. So that person got a little nervous. He said, no, Prabhupada, it's okay. I will come to see you every time. Prabhupada said, no, it's okay. You can come to see me. But I should also be able to come and see you anytime I want. Take his address. And again, he was like, no, Prabhupada, it's okay. I will come and visit you. Prabhupada said, no, take his address. Finally, Prabhupada made that person give his address. So, that is our Prabhupada. Another such similar pastime of Prabhupada is one of the devotees they brought in a big businessman to meet Prabhupada because he was supposed to, donate. So the devotee was also feeling a little happy and proud that, okay, I got a donor. Prabhupada will be very happy with me once I introduce this person to him. So Prabhupada asked him, what do you do? He said, I'm a businessman. So Prabhupada said, okay, what business do you do? He said, I have lots of glass factories all over. So Prabhupada said, how do you make glass? He said, using sand. And Prabhupada said, where does sand come from? So then that person said, he thought for a few, he said, earth. Prabhupada said, who do you think earth belongs to? Then the person was quiet. He said, God. Prabhupada said, yes, Mother Earth belongs to Krishna. So you are taking Krishna's property and building glasses in your factory and making profit. So you are a thief. A person has come who is supposed to donate some big amount. That's how Prabhupada greets it. That person was taken aback. Then the devotee tried to intervene. He said, no, Prabhupada, actually he has come to give us some donation. Prabhupada said, that's okay, but he's a thief. And then Prabhupada asked him, so how much of what you make, the profit, do you give in donation? He said, little bit. Then Prabhupada said, you are a big thief. that is who Prabhupada was, right? We have book Bhagavatam, which of course reminds us, cautions us that we should come out of this illusion and about these miseries. But then there is person Bhagavat like Prabhupada. They know how to reveal to us. They know how to cut the knot. They know how to break our illusion. Person like Prabhupada, he knows how to wake us up. So, we need person Bhagavats like that in our lives. Like Srila Prabhupada is such a blessing to us. And then the last point in this verse talks about happiness, right? It says, if he can successfully counteract such misery, he thinks he is happy. So this is also a very deep statement. It's not a happy ending to the story. It says, if he can only successfully counteract such miseries, as long as he can battle with the miseries that he's getting because of continuously engaging in sense gratification in the name of family life, he thinks he is happy. So, and even in the first few lines, it talks about happiness, right? Like there is no question of happiness in this material world, either individually or in terms of family, society, or country. If something is going on in the name of happiness, that is also illusion. Here in the material world, happiness means successful counteraction to the effects of distress. That is the definition of happiness. Now, we all have goals in life, right? Can be, I want a better job, I want to get married, I want to go to a foreign country, I want to get a higher degree. In corporate world, we are taught about this principle of 5 whys or 7 whys. I forget what it is, but basically it says if there is a problem, you ask why that happened, and then why that happened, and then why that happened. And like that, if you reverse engineer, I forget 5 or the 7, but when you reach that 5th or 7th point, that is when you will find the root cause. And so you can fix the problem. Corporate world teaches that. So similarly, if we think of what is my goal, right? So say my goal is to go to America. Why? To study. Why? To get a prestigious degree. Why? To get a good job. Why? To make more money. So that I'll be happy, right? Any goal of our life, we can try to reverse analyze it, and I don't know if we'll end up with another answer, but because I want to be happy. Trying to find happiness is the culmination of all goals, whatever be it, if we try to reverse engineer, right? But happiness, right? We have to study why. if if like getting a degree gives us happiness, or if getting more money, or if getting a promotion, or getting married, getting children gives us happiness. So all of these goals that we analyze, they are all material and physical. Degree, or a job, or more money, or getting married, children, vacation, anything. It is physical. So, if you look at the fundamentals of being happy or trying to be happy, can we say that happiness equates to physical comfort? Because when we ask about our goals, we cite a physical comfort which will give us happiness. So, can we say that happiness equates to physical comforts? We cannot. I was hearing long back, I heard a Hindi lecture by Amogila Prabhu, and he very nicely was describing. So let's take a situation. There is a college student, right? All college canteens are famous for some food. My college canteen was samosa and chai. Prabhu was explaining chola bhatura example. So he's like, this person comes studying in an engineering college. He comes to the canteen, he orders chola bhatura, he's very excited to eat it. Um, and then he gets the plate, and he's about to eat, he's like very excited. At that very moment, a friend of his comes, a classmate of his comes, and says that the results of the exams are announced. You failed in three subjects. Now the chola is spicy and tasty, but the steam is also not coming out, still coming out. But the person in canteen is the same, right? Nothing changed. But the happiness that he was going to derive from it few seconds back before he heard the news is gone, right? A person may be driving a Jaguar or a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. Person is traveling in it, very proud. Oh, I own so much, and this is the cause of my happiness that I can experience this luxury. He gets a call, right? One of his family members met with an accident. The Rolls Royce, sitting in that Rolls Royce is not pleasurable anymore, right? So the thing is, the physical comfort that was giving us happiness, so that was supposed to give us happiness, is still there, intact, very much in here. We are also still the same, but the happiness component goes away, right? Same thing we can think, right? Now, as fun gulab jamun always comes in all examples. So, everybody loves gulab jamun. Prabhupada called it as bullet. So, if say I love gulab jamun and I come here, especially now Vishnu Panchak fasting today, we are going to break it. We come here, we get gulab jamun. Oh, I'm so happy. I eat four of it, and then I get four more. Like amazing. Krishna has accepted my fasting austerity. He's giving me so much. I eat that also. And then I get four more. Like this is the epitome of satisfaction. I eat that also. Then I get four more. I'm like, it's okay, I don't get it every day. I'll eat it. And then I eat it. And then again I get four more. Then whoever is giving, I say, प्रभु जी माता जी और कुछ भी दीजिए गुलाब जामुन मत दीजिए. It is so saturated that the same thing that was giving us happiness, now we almost start despising it. Please don't give me more gulab. Anything you want to give me, don't give me more gulab jamun, right? So again, if gulab jamun was going to give me happiness, it's a physical comfort element. It is still there. It's the same from the same batch, right? 200 gulab jamun were made. Same thing is coming to me, but the component of happiness is not there. So all this is to say physical comfort to provide us happiness, then as long as it increase or at least stay constant, it should not diminish because something has changed, right? But the very fact that it is changing proves that physical comforts don't provide us real happiness. Now, another facet of the fundamentals of being truly happy, we can analyze. So, if you notice, the quest for happiness, the journey to get happiness, the quest for happiness is of way longer duration than the time we spend in exactly being happy. Right? Means the search of happiness is longer than the duration of that happiness that we derive from that. A very easy example, right? We're living here in America or even say India, right? We want to buy a house, right? House is 750K house, very nice house. I want to buy it. Somehow I am able to give 20% down payment, right? 150K. That's all the savings I have. I give. And then after that, the remaining 80%, I take a loan. I take a loan, I have to give EMI. For EMI, I have to make sure I have a constant flow of income, which means I have to maintain a job. 30-year loan was taken, right? Until we pay off the house really is not ours. The day we stop paying foreclosure, whatever we paid also gone, right? 30 years we keep paying. By the time we finish the installment, probably the children have grown up, moved out. We have become so old that when it is time to call the house really ours, we don't have the energy to maintain it and we want to downgrade, right? Because it's like too big for us to manage and maintain. So, like this, and it's a very practical example, and for anything else that we strive to achieve, we see that the struggle to get it is so much longer than the time when you really get that happiness and how much you enjoy off of it, right? But I was remembering when we were in school in the morning, school song. There was one in Hindi also. हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन. मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास. So many times they made us repeat that we used to get sentiments when we were singing that. Now when we look back, basically it's trying to say, yes, we keep striving. Even though it's a struggle, right? Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. That should be the motto. That's what we are taught, right? So that's the same thing. The quest. Keep struggling. You get momentary happiness, and by the time you reach there, you probably don't even need that because it's invalid for you. The third component of trying to understand, happiness and its fundamentals and real permanent happiness is, and it was very directly stated in the verse also. Does happiness equate to absence of misery or forgetfulness of misery? That was very clearly stated in the purpose. It has come to a point where people think that they are happy if the misery that they were going through is missing for some time or if they forget about it, right? Like, somebody is stressed, they'll tell their friends, let's go to the bar. You drink, you get high, you forget, at least for that night, you forget there was a problem. So it's forgetfulness of misery, which we try to equate as happiness, right? But is that true? Is forgetfulness of misery happiness? Not really, right? Napoleon Bonaparte, right? He was a big tyrant in his time, the World War time. Still read about him in the history books, probably the most notorious of all the leaders. I was hearing that the way he used to punish people, prisoners, or whoever did something, was he would put their heads in very stingy water 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 seconds. The person is inside struggling, and then they would pull him out. The person would breathe heavily, right? And before the lungs fill up again with oxygen, again they go inside. So, saying that happiness is forgetfulness or absence of misery is saying that we are in this situation, but when we are pulled out, we are happy, and then we go back again in misery. And then when we are pulled out, we are happy, and then we go back again in misery. Is that happiness? No, right? So that's happiness doesn't mean that, oh, misery is absent, so I'm happy. But again, the material world, Shina Sukha Mahadukha. That's how the rotation happens. And we think that the momentary breath that we are trying to take is probably happiness. Right? And then the last point I wanted to share was and even in like material world, right? These momentary breaks that we get of miseries, from miseries. Um, Sharing a very nice story around that also. So there's a hunter goes in the jungle trying to kill a lion or a tiger. And then he gets distracted for a few seconds, and that animal comes from behind and pounces on him. So the gun gets thrown away somewhere. So the hunter obviously is not in a position to now fetch the gun and again try to kill the animal. So he starts to run, running very fast. Lions running even faster than him. Somehow he runs, climbs up a tree, and goes and hangs in a branch. And he thinks, okay, at least now this lion won't be able to catch me. Then, after some time, he sees two rats. They come on the same branch, a black rat and a white rat. And they start slowly gnawing the branch. And this person is like, oh God, I am done. And the lions are even waiting downstairs to eat me as his lunch or dinner. And then he's like, and then he looks up and he's like, I don't know what to do now. At that very point, a drop of pure honey, there's a beehive on top of the tree. A drop of pure honey falls in his mouth. And that person tastes it. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Better than any honey I've tasted. Uh, then he's still seeing, okay, uh, lion is there, these rats are gnawing, everything's going on, he knows end is near. Then again he looks up after a minute or so, again a drop of honey falls and he tastes it. So this is the happy ending of the story for the lion. Right? Because eventually the rats will gnaw it off the branch, he will fall, the lion is going to eat him. He knows his end is near and certain, but the drop of honey at this situation is giving him some happiness, making him forget the situation that he's going to die. That black and white rat is like day and night for us. That every day and night we are moving closer and closer and closer to death. But we still try to find those honey drops in the middle, right? The point is to be able to wake up and know what the reality is instead of trying to find happiness in those drops of honey when the situation is so precarious. Then the last point, I wanted to share about trying to evaluate if the happiness is real and eternal or not is, do we have to experience misery first in order to be able to experience happiness and understand that it is happiness? Maybe, maybe not, right? If we think, yes, we have to experience misery to be able to identify and understand happiness. Very simple example, right? We want to go to a juice shop and we want to have mango shake. So to get best taste of mango shake, we first order the Karela juice, bitter gourd juice. We drink it, mouth is fully, palate is gone. Then we order a mango shake. It gives us happiness. But if we had directly ordered the mango shake, would the taste have been less pleasurable? Probably not. Right? If we wanted a mango shake, we could have gone and ordered a mango shake and had it. You don't always and really need to have Karela juice before mango shake to be able to, enjoy that mango shake. So similarly, it's not that we have to go through these miseries to be able to understand what is happiness, right? Like I was sharing before also, the intelligent people, they learn from teacher called Mr. Hearing. They hear, they understand, they fix their path. But the less intelligent people, they have to go to the teacher called Mr. Experience. They hear, they don't understand. They need special one-on-one tutoring. Right? If we are okay in some subjects, we go to a coaching class where we're studying with 50 other students. If we are weak in some subject, the teacher comes specially to our house, right? Coaching class charges 300 rupees, teacher coming home will charge 800 rupees. But we need special attention, so the teacher has to come home one-on-one classes. So similarly, the more intelligent will hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, read and understand. Less intelligent, they have to experience. right? And very nice analogy was given for this also. Life is, this material life is like a cake baked by a very nice baker, right? And give it a very fancy name, maybe strawberry cake with chocolate frosting and strawberry compote, something sounds very nice, right? And looks also very nice, very nicely decorated. And we cut a piece of that round cake, we take out a small triangle, we eat. Taste is weird. Looks very nice, name is so nice, taste is weird. We think maybe this part is not good. We turn the cake around, we cut another triangle from another part, and we try to eat it. Taste is still not good, right? Then we again turn around, maybe this area is not good, another area might be good. We again try to cut a small part from another further away part of the cake we eat. Still doesn't taste well. And why? Because the cake, the baker, instead of putting sugar, has put salt in it. Right? Now, full cake is salty. How will we get good taste from a salty, savory cake, right? So, life is like that. We think, hearing or spirituality or self-realization, it has its own time, place, and circumstance. In my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, that's not the right thing to do. I am busy. Who will go and attend these classes? Maybe the person speaking has nothing to do. Maybe the person listening has nothing to do. That's why they're engaging in it. If they engage in it out of turn, right? So it's like, 10 years of your life, you try to take the first piece, didn't work. You spent another 10 years, you thought now it will be good. You take the other piece, not good. Another 10 years, another piece, not good. Like that, 20 to 30 to 40 to 50. Then when we are very old, no energy left, in the body, and even nobody is interested in like socializing with us. At that point, we think, yes, maybe now, it's time for spirituality, but it's too late, right? The philosophy is so intricate, and to be able to understand and transform our lives, it takes birth after birth, right? What to talk of, going at the towards the end of our lives when we can't really do much, and then trying to, understand. So that's why, and again, I mean, if you see the obstacles for happiness, right? What causes us to not be happy or what deprives us from happiness? If we think of very generic, things, stress causes us to be unhappy, jealousy, envy, anger, greed, comparison, inferiority complex. These are the things that generally come on, trying to compete with somebody. These things come to a mind generally, right? When somebody goes to a psychiatrist, not having mostly stress, anxiety, jealousy, and these things only are the prime root of it. Now, if we think of all of these things or anything else that might come to a mind, these obstacles are all on the mental platform. None of these are physical. Jealousy is not physical, envy is not physical, greed is not physical, stress is not physical, anxiety is not physical. So if I am mentally sick, right, just like if physically I am sick, I have a cut or a burn or something, there are hospitals made for physical treatment. But these are mental obstacles, right? So we need hospitals that can treat these mental obstacles for us. Before, when we, even now, when I look back, my great grandmother, grandmother, or even my ancestors before that, right, when we think of our families, they were God fearing. They were at least God fearing, if not, God conscious or very religious. So, even for physical things, if you remember, what a great grandmother would, they would pray if something would happen, right? They would pray to the Lord, oh, please, let my child be okay, or like that. And because we feared God, at the very least, we would go to the temple, we would do the samskaras, we would do the right yagyas, homas, do the right offerings, give in charity. So temples were supposed to be or were at least the places where we would fix these mental obstacles, where we would get some solution to these mental obstacles. We would feel good when we would go to temple, hear katha, or do bhajans, or pay obeisances to the Lord. And our ancestors were at least a little bit more religious. They would, go constantly. But nowadays, material life has become so much more attractive, and people are so much busy that they've abandoned places of worship. That's probably once in a special occasion. Okay, Janmashtami time I'll go, and the next Janmashtami I'll go, right? Or even when they go, the ask is physical. Give me more money, or give me a promotion, or give me a job. Let me get married. So the reason why these places were existing and how they were solving our mental obstacles to happiness, we're not using it in the right way, which is why these miseries remain, and which is why we are not happy. I remember a few years back when Bhakti Maharaj had come to Michigan. We were in Grand Rapids. He was giving Srimad Bhagavatam class, and he said, "ISKCON is the only place where you come as a patient and you get discharged as a doctor." And amazing statement, right? If you think of it, many of us, how did we come to ISKCON? Probably somebody handed us a book and we came to ISKCON. Now the same person is a book distributor. Somebody gave me a nice gulab jamun to eat. I loved it. I came always to eat gulab jamun. Now that person might be cooking in the kitchen for Sunday feast for others, right? I saw the deities. They were so beautiful. I got attracted. That's why I started coming. Now that person is probably a pujari, dressing the deity so that others can take darshan and be inspired. I came because somebody like Yugal Kishore Prabhuji, talked to me very nicely, and it inspired me. It, influenced me so much. Now I am in the guest seva team where I am, inviting and welcoming everyone. So such a true statement, right? ISKCON is a place where you come as a patient, you get dispatched as a doctor. So we need, we need to be in association of such person Bhagavats like Srila Prabhupada. We need to hear, right? And we need to get deep into scriptures, understand the real meaning of temples, why we come here, what we do, to break the cycle of trying to find happiness, but through wrong means. And Prabhupada has been so kind to us. One time, Srila Prabhupada, and I'll wrap up with this. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he was sitting in a Vyasa. It was very high, had a few steps, and he was saying, Krishna is 100% pure. So you have to be 100% pure to go back to Krishna and reunite with him. So obviously there was a little bit silence in the room, when the bar is set so high and we know our real position. There's a little bit disappointment and despair, right? So Prabhupada, then he was getting up from his Vyasa and he was going to leave. He stepped down, he said, okay, you'll be 90% pure and then you can go back to Krishna. Still a little bit, quietness only. He stepped out one more step and he said, okay, 80%. If you are 80% pure, you can meet the Krishna. And then he stepped one more, he put his chadar like this and he said 70%, that's it, fine. If you can be up to 70% pure in your dealings and how you handle material life, how you control your senses, you can go back to Krishna. And same thing we've seen, Mahaprabhu came, he's the most merciful avatar of Krishna. And then Srila Prabhupada came, who's even more merciful. He started the standard of being initiated from 64 rounds, brought it down to 16. He said if you can chant 16 rounds, follow 4 regulatory principles, you can go back to Godhead. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so merciful, he gave us the easy route of Harinam Sankirtan. No big or elaborate yagnas, sanskaras, no big, elaborate temple building, deity worship like that. He did not say, which were there in other yugas. So he simplified, Prabhupada simplified even further. So they have been amazingly merciful on us. Now it is on us to be able to understand where our position is in this attached householder, right? And how we are struggling and how we can use these relatively simpler measures, the most simple that Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could make of this moment and present it to us to become purified and go back to God. With this, I will, and please forgive me if I've spoken anything wrong. Usually, whenever Shyam Kishore Prabhuji, he will ask me to give class. Of course, I don't have any realization, so in my attempt to be and stay humble, we say that at least I say that whatever I spoke was for myself, for my own purification. But when I read this verse and the translation and purport, I was like, before humility, reality came. That really I'm speaking it for myself, right? Because I am one of these struggling grihasthas also. So this was a very eye-opening purport and very very practical also. Gives us some points to retrospect and think about on how we want to lead our life. Again, thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srimad Prabhupada ki jai. If there are any comments, questions, you can take it.
So much reality.
It
is so much reality.
It is so much reality, right? We can relate. It's like when I was reading, I'm like, this is me. That's why before humility, reality came. I'm speaking it for myself. Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Very nice class, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.